That includes stealing a golf cart and leading police on an infuriatingly slow chase through the streets of Los Angeles. While the suspect looked like he was having a great time, his four-legged passenger, not so much. It didn't take long for the police to box him into a gas station parking lot, bringing the subspeed limit felony to a slow-mo ending. When police leave their cars unattended to deal with speeding drivers, opportunistic thieves make their move. This joyrider jumped behind the wheel of a cop car and sped off without the officer even reacting. When the police radio's still on, it's like the thief had a narrator to his own car chase. Is that him laughing? Anyway, when the adrenaline finally wore off and he realized he was driving a freaking cop car, he lost his nerve and bailed on foot, eventually trying out a new hiding spot. If you're getting chased through the streets of LA by a dozen cop cars, people usually assume you're a criminal. But these guys just wanted to give back to their community. Or at least, that's the story they're sticking to.
Throwing more money out. Throwing more money out of the car. Whoa, look at that.
After robbing a downtown bank and speeding off in a black SUV, these brazen philanthropists drove through the city's suburbs, throwing handfuls of cash out the window. While it's not entirely clear if they were trying to spread the wealth with their neighborhood or trying to create a distraction big enough to make their getaway, I'm pretty sure they made some locals very happy. This high-speed chase is about to end in the weirdest way possible. And I'm not talking about the takedown. That was actually a pretty sweet pit maneuver if I say so myself. It's what happens next which has everyone scratching their heads. After surrendering to the police and exiting the car with his hands up, this guy decides the next best option is to start breakdancing?
Oh, okay. Suspect doing some breakdancing here in the middle of the roadway, and he's definitely...
Maybe he thinks a solid windmill will make the officers rethink the charges? Or maybe bro thinks it's a new round and he's back in the Fortnite lobby. Either way, they'll have to go easy on him. They did tell him to get down, after all. What did they expect? What happens when you end up chasing a real-life comic book villain? A scenario which is just as crazy as their on-screen counterpart. When police began pursuing a black sedan through the streets of Santa Monica, little did they know that the passenger was dressed as the Joker. The infamous DC villain taunted the police from the vehicle's sunroof before making a run towards the beach. Maybe he was hoping to go for a swim or disappear into the crowd. But not before he stopped and helped Furry and high-five a stranger. Next thing he knew, he was surrounded by cops and 1,000 onlookers. Come on, guys. Why so serious? This officer had to check the manual when he spotted a horse and cart traveling with the driver passed out drunk behind the reins.
Hey! Wake up!
I know there's laws against drunk driving, but this is technically an Amish Uber. Obviously, an unconscious driver is an accident waiting to happen, so the police decided to block the road ahead. And after just a quick collision, the poor kid had reckless driving added to his charge of DUI. One question though, can you still call AAA if your horse breaks down? When you're already facing time for reckless driving and eluding the police, why not make the most of the chaos and live stream it? Wilfredo Garcia decided to capitalize on his 15 minutes of fame by going live on his ATV with the police hot in pursuit. Was it worth it? Well, his eagerness for likes got the attention of detectives who, after a quick scroll through Instagram, were able to add a few more felonies to his list. Everyone gets a guilty conscience from time to time, but this guy is the absolute king of telling on himself. When this red car got pulled over for speeding, the guy in the passenger seat suddenly felt all eyes on him.
Thank you for telling me who you are this time. Last time you did.
Oh, that was you?
That was me. Why is he running? He doesn't even have a warrant.
Even though he was the one being interrogated, he suddenly got the urge to bail and run for his life. Our paranoid shirtless friend Roberts obviously had a reason to run.
You know what I was going to do? I was going to have you drive her car. Because you got a valid license, bro. No, I don't. Yes, you do.
And when cops finally caught up to him, he got a possession charge for his troubles.
Bet that's math, ain't it? That's stupid. Dude, I was going to let you drive the car.
Entering into a new year, I have these goals. The big one is to be more active. And let's be honest, the more active you are, the more you swear no.
How fast is too fast for a scooter. These police officers had to do a double take at their speedometer when they clocked an e-scooter at more than 62 miles an hour down a busy Australian freeway. When challenged, the scooter rider decided to run for it, diverting into a bike lane to escape. His excuse for the erratic driving? He was late to his job. I guess you gotta admire his work ethic. From the dashcam footage, this just looks like your average white sedan cruising through the suburbs. This car wasn't speeding, it didn't cross over into oncoming lanes. So what's the problem? Well, after a long joyride through the neighborhood, the vehicle finally stopped. And officers were absolutely dumbfounded by who was behind the wheel.
And before driving back home, this is what it looked like when he got into the driveway. They'll never find me under the bed.
How do you stop a vehicle that can literally drive over a cop car? Answer? You wait until it runs out of gas. When Joshua Yabbitt was looking for a ride home, he chose an M577 armored personnel carrier and drove it straight out of the gates of Fort Pickett.
What the is going on?
Police could really only follow from a safe distance as the literal tank ripped through the streets of Virginia on a high-speed joyride. Eventually, the rampage came to an end with Joshua arrested for driving a tank under the influence. What's the best way to pick up a country girl? A tractor. At least that's what this guy thought when leading the police on a low-speed chase through the sticks. As it turns out, tractors seem to be a quite popular getaway vehicle, although you aren't losing the cops anytime soon. After being pulled over and told to stand with his hands by his sides, the officer returned to his car to write him a ticket. Leaving the suspect without handcuffs was the officer's first mistake. His second was not paying attention. In a blink of an eye, he was off, and so was the chasing officer, only for the suspect to double back for a heroic escape. And while he didn't make it very far, I'm sure this cop will be more careful next time. They say that senior citizens are a liability on the road, and this very sweet grandma is no exception. But instead of peering over the steering wheel of a 1960s Volvo, this grandma was behind the wheel of a mobility scooter. It was clear to everyone that she might be a little lost, but despite the offer of help from a police officer, she was determined to find her way home herself. Now only if she could remember the address. This police chase isn't your average felony pursuit. The fugitive in question stole a police car and was being pursued down a freeway by police SWAT teams and a canine unit. They were eventually able to pull the pit maneuver on the fleeing vehicle. But here's where it gets interesting. What should have been a fairly standard takedown and arrest took a hilarious turn as the officers closed in. Despite the attention of more than a dozen officers and a police dog, the criminal was able to escape by stealing another police car. Someone should really remember to take the keys out of the ignition. It turns out that you don't have to be a criminal to have beef with the police. This officer turned up to investigate a report of a cow on the sports field, and instantly the stakes were raised. But tuning his inner cowboy, the police officer eventually was able to corral the belligerent bovine into a fenced enclosure. If only that solution worked. You know that saying, charging like a bull at a gate? It works for cows too. Drink driving laws state that you can't be in control of a vehicle while under the influence. Apparently that also applies to motorized suitcases as well.
Chelsea, look at me. Chelsea, look at me. Chelsea, look at me.
When this woman tried to board a plane in Orlando, she was refused on the basis of her intoxication. The resulting altercation led to a short pursuit through the terminal and Chelsea's eventual arrest.
Chelsea, you're under arrest. You guys got back now. Chelsea, you're under arrest. You guys got back now.
The result of her charge? A $300 fine, and she's not allowed to operate a suitcase for 6 months.
We're gonna go on the car nice and easy, alright?
When is a police car chase not a police car chase? When the fugitive does donuts instead of trying to get away. This guy doesn't seem to care that he doesn't have a four-wheel drive. He's found his home in the sand, leaving the police in the dust. Eventually, his cockiness gets the better of him, and this car chase comes to a crashing conclusion. Not all police chases are adrenaline-filled, white-knuckle rampages. Sometimes you get a pursuit that